Have you ever had that nightmare where you're running to catch up with someone, but your feet feel stuck to the ground? Where you scream, but no sound comes out of your mouth. I lived that nightmare. But it wasn't during sleep. It was in broad daylight at Miami International Airport when I realized my family had boarded without me. And the worst part, it wasn't an accident. My name is Sophia. I'm 26 years old today, and this is the story of how a moment at the airport completely changed my life and made me understand painful truths that I had been ignoring for years. Before I begin, I want you to know that this isn't a story about revenge or hatred. It's about awakening, about realizing your own worth when the people who should love you unconditionally make you feel exactly the opposite. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, because this story is long, it's painful, but in the end, I promise, it's about new beginnings. Part 1. The Signs I Ignored, 2 to 6:30. Before I tell you about that day at the airport, I need you to understand the context. Because nothing happens out of nowhere, right? There are always signs. There's always a pattern. I was just too busy trying to be loved to see them. I grew up in an upper-middle-class family in Miami. From the outside, we were the definition of a perfect family. Coordinated Christmas photos, Sunday dinners, annual vacations. My father was an executive at a tech company. My mother, a retired university professor. My older sister, Marina, followed in Dad's footsteps and became a corporate lawyer. My younger brother, Lucas, was in business school, clearly prepared to continue the family legacy. And then there was me. From an early age, I was different. While Marina proudly drew out her career goals at age 10, I spent hours painting in the backyard. While Lucas collected soccer trophies, I wrote poetry in my diary. I wasn't rebellious in the traditional sense. I didn't do drugs, didn't run away from home, didn't fail school. My rebellion was quieter, deeper. I simply didn't want what they wanted for me. I remember when I was 15 and announced I wanted to go to art school. My father's reaction was immediate and brutal. Art isn't a career, Sophia. It's a hobby. You'll study business or law, and you can do art in your spare time. My mother just looked at her plate. My refuge was always her silence. Today I understand that silence is also a choice. She chose not to defend me. She always chose that. I went to visual arts college anyway. I paid for it with student loans and part-time jobs. It was the first time I officially disappointed my parents. But it wouldn't be the last. During college, Sunday dinners became interrogations. When are you going to get a real job? Why can't you be more like your sister? Do you realize you're wasting your potential? Marina got married at 26 to a lawyer. Fairy tale wedding, $10,000 dress, honeymoon in Bora Bora. I was the maid of honor and heard for months how she had done everything right in life. 2 years later, she had twins. A boy and a girl. Perfect. I became the aunt who was always compared to the perfect mother. Lucas started working at a friend of Dad's company right after graduation. New apartment, new car, beautiful girlfriend. Another child who did everything right. And me. At 23, I had a tiny apartment, worked as a freelance designer, was single, no children, no wedding plans. I was the topic of all the family's worried conversations. We're afraid Sophia will never settle down. Do you think she's okay mentally? Maybe she needs therapy. Ironically, years later, therapy would save me. But not in the way they imagined. The signs were all there. At family parties where I was always the last to be consulted about any decision. On birthdays where my gift was always the most generic, as if no one really knew me. In family photos where I was always on the edge, easy to crop out if necessary. But I ignored them, because they were my family. And family is everything, right? That's what they always told me. Blood is thicker than water. You don't choose your family, but you must love them unconditionally. Today I know that the complete phrase is actually, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means exactly the opposite. But back then, I didn't know that it was in March of 2022 that my father announced the big family trip. He had just closed a huge deal and wanted to celebrate. 3 weeks through Europe, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Amsterdam. A dream. And miracle of miracles, I was included. I remember when he announced it at Sunday dinner, he looked directly at me and said, "All of us. The whole family." My heart filled with hope. Maybe this was a new beginning. Maybe they were finally accepting me as I was. Maybe this trip could truly bring us together. What an idiot I was. The following months were full of planning. We had a WhatsApp group called European Adventure, Santos Family. Marina shared detailed itineraries. Lucas sent memes about American tourists in Europe. Mom posted photos of dishes she wanted to try. Dad shared spreadsheets with schedules and reservations. And me, I participated enthusiastically. I suggested art museums in Paris, talked about galleries in Barcelona I wanted to visit, shared photography tips for capturing the best moments. Looking back, I realized my messages received fewer reactions than the others. My suggestions were rarely considered. When I talked about art museums, Marina would quickly change the subject to the Eiffel Tower or the Colosseum. But I was so excited, so hopeful, that I didn't pay attention. A week before the trip, there was a dinner at my parents' house to finalize the details. I arrived excited, with a folder full of information I had researched about each city. The first strange thing was that they were all already there when I arrived, even though I had arrived at the agreed time. It seemed like I had interrupted something. "Sophia, you're here," my mother said in that artificially cheerful tone. During dinner, I felt something strange in the air. Exchanged glances, conversations that stopped abruptly when I entered the room. Marina and Lucas whispering and stopping when I approached. "Is everything okay?" I asked at one point. "Of course. Why wouldn't it be?" Marina responded too quickly, with a smile too wide. My father was quiet all evening, which was unusual. He usually dominated any conversation. But that night, he just watched, with an expression I couldn't decipher. When I left, I hugged each one. My mother's hug was quick, almost reflexive. Marina gave me 2 pats on the back. Lucas held on a little longer, and when we separated, he looked at me with something in his eyes. Today I know it was guilt, but that night, I interpreted it as excitement for the trip. "See you Monday," I said cheerfully at the door. "Yes, Monday," my father responded, but didn't look me in the eyes. That was the last time I spoke with my family before the airport. The next 3 days were crazy with final preparations. Packing, organizing my apartment to be closed for 3 weeks, asking my neighbor to water my plants. I confirmed with my father by text on Friday that he would pick me up at 6:30 Monday morning. He responded with just a thumbs up. It should have been a sign. On Sunday night, I tried to call my mother to confirm some details. She didn't answer. I sent a message. She read it, but didn't respond. She must be busy with her bags, I thought. The night before the trip, I could barely sleep. Not from excitement, as I told myself, but from an anxiety I couldn't name. Something in my stomach said something was wrong, but I ignored it, as I always ignored my instinct when it came to my family. I woke up at 5 in the morning. Showered, got ready, had coffee. My suitcase was ready by the door. Passport and documents in a special pouch. I had checked everything 1,000 times. I sat on the couch and waited. 6:30. No sign of my father. I sent a message. "Dad, I'm ready. Are you on your way?" No response. 6:40. I called. Straight to voicemail. 6:50. I started to panic. I called my mother. Voicemail. Marina. Voicemail. Lucas. Voicemail. All the phones of all my family members were turned off or silenced. At 7 o'clock, my mind started creating scenarios. Car accident. Medical emergency. Something terrible had happened and I was here not knowing. At 7:05, I decided not to risk it. I called an Uber. During the entire ride to the airport, I tried calling each of them repeatedly. My mind oscillated between worry and confusion. Where were they? Why wasn't anyone answering? We arrived at the airport at 7:45. I paid the driver with trembling hands and ran to the international terminal. Part 3. The airport, 10 to 1600 hours. Miami International Airport at 7:45 on a Monday morning is chaotic. Families with children, hurried executives, lost tourists. But for me, everything was in slow motion. I ran to the flight monitors. Our flight to Paris, departure at 9 in the morning. On time. Gate B42. I went to the airline counter, dragging my suitcase, my heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. The attendant was a woman in her 40s, hair pulled back in an impeccable bun, professional smile. "Good morning. How can I help you?" I need to check in. Flight to Paris, 9 in the morning. But my family, they were supposed to pick me up and they didn't show. Are they here? Have they checked in? I gave my name and the family surname. She typed on the computer, her expression neutral as her eyes scanned the screen. And then something changed in her face. A micro-expression of discomfort, as if she had seen something she didn't expect. Let me check. She typed some more. You said you're traveling with your family. Yes. Santos. There should be 5 passengers. She paused, bit her lower lip for a second. Miss Santos, I see here that there are 5 reservations under the name Santos for this flight. 4 of them have already checked in and already passed through security. The world stopped. 4. Yes. Let me confirm the names. Ricardo Santos, Monica Santos, Marina Santos Oliveira and Lucas Santos. All already at the gate. My brain refused to process this information. But I'm the 5th. Sophia Santos. I was coming with them. The attendant looked at me with something that could be pity. Yes, your name is here. Your reservation is active. But they checked in more than an hour ago. An hour? They had been here for more than an hour. And no one called me. No one texted me. No one looked for me. Are you sure? Can you check again? She checked. Then checked again. 4 passengers already boarded. 1 still pending. Me. I checked in a trance. She handed me the boarding pass with both hands, as if it were a fragile object. Or maybe it was me who seemed fragile. Your gate is B42. You have time, but you need to go through security now. I nodded. I don't remember saying thank you. I don't remember walking to the security line. It was as if my body was on autopilot while my mind desperately tried to make sense of what was happening. They were here. My family was at this airport, and they chose not to tell me. The security line seemed endless. Each minute was an eternity. I took off my shoes, put my bag on the belt, went through the metal detector. All mechanical. All automatic. On the other side, I put on my shoes, grabbed my things, and looked at the signs. Gates A to the left. Gates B to the right. My feet took me to the right. B10. B15. B20. Each gate I passed increased my anxiety. My heart was racing so fast I thought I was going to throw up. B35. B38. B40. And then I saw them. Gate B42. And there they were. My family. My father was sitting in a black plastic chair, reading the day's newspaper. He was wearing that navy blue sweater my mother had given him for his birthday. Reading glasses on the tip of his nose. Upright, confident posture. My mother was beside him, looking at her phone. She had gotten her nails done recently, I noticed. Red. She only did red nails when she was happy. Marina was 3 seats ahead, showing something on her phone to her husband, Bruno, who I only now realized was also on the trip. She was laughing. A genuine, relaxed laugh. And Lucas was standing in front of a window, looking at the planes on the runway. Large headphones covering his ears, bobbing his head to the rhythm of a song only he could hear. A family. Complete, happy, calm, waiting to board for the trip of their dreams. Without me. No, not without me. They thought it was without me. But I was here. I took a deep breath. My legs were shaking, so much I thought they would give out. But I walked. Each step seemed to weigh a ton. Each meter seemed like a kilometer. I stopped 3 meters from them. Hello. My voice came out hoarse, weak. Marina was the first to see me. Her eyes widened. The phone screen almost fell from her hands. Sophia, she said, and the tone of voice wasn't happy surprise. It was horrified surprise. That tone of voice made all the others look. My mother brought her hand to her mouth. My father closed the newspaper slowly, very slowly. Lucas took off his headphones, confusion evident on his face, and no one got up to hug me. No one smiled. No one said, "Thank goodness you made it." The silence was broken by my father. Sophia. He said my name as a statement, not a question, not a greeting, a statement of an inconvenient fact. What's going on? My voice was firmer now, fueled by an anger that was beginning to replace confusion. Why didn't you wait for me? Why didn't anyone call me? More silence. Marina looked at my father. My mother looked at the floor. Lucas looked genuinely lost. Is someone going to answer? My voice was louder now. Some people at nearby gates started to look. It was my father who finally spoke. He stood up, put away the newspaper, took off his glasses and stared at me with that expression I knew so well. That expression of, now I'm going to explain something obvious to you because you're not smart enough to understand it yourself. Sophia, we need to talk. Let's go over there. He pointed to a more secluded corner of the gate. No. Right here. In front of everyone. Since everyone is involved in this situation. He sighed. That sigh he always used when I disappointed him. Fine. If you want to make a scene. He paused, as if giving me one last chance to change my mind. I didn't. We decided it would be better if you didn't go on this trip. The words came out so calmly, so casually, as if he were commenting on the weather. Better for whom? For all of us, Sophia. For you too. Don't tell me what's best for me. You didn't even consult me. Marina stood up now, approaching with that lawyer walk going to court. Sophia, be reasonable. You know how it is. We've traveled together before, and it always causes problems. You want to go to museums. We want to go to tourist spots. You want to eat at authentic places. We want to go to restaurants with good reviews. You complain about hotels, complain about schedules, complain about everything. I don't complain. I just give my opinion. Exactly. My father crossed his arms. You always have to give your opinion. About everything. And when things aren't your way, you get moody and ruin it for everyone. Each word was a stab. When did I ruin anything? When? Remember last Christmas? Marina shot back. You got all offended because we didn't like your idea of doing a different Secret Santa. You sulked half the night. I wasn't offended. I was hurt because you had already decided everything without asking me. Like you always do. There it is. My father pointed at me as if I had proven his point. You're always hurt. Always feeling excluded. Always creating drama where there isn't any. Drama. My voice trembled. You left me behind. You planned a trip without me and didn't have the courage to tell me to my face. And I'm the dramatic one. My mother finally spoke, with that soft voice she used when she wanted to make peace. Honey, it wasn't like that. We discussed this. It was a difficult decision. Difficult? Difficult would be having the decency to include me in this discussion about me. We wanted to tell you, my mother continued, but we knew you'd get upset. So the solution was to let me find out at the airport? On the day of the trip? That's less upsetting. Silence again. Lucas finally spoke, his voice small. I said we should have told her. Lucas, be quiet. My father cut him off, without even looking at him. No, I said, looking at my brother. Let him speak. At least one of you seems to have some conscience. Lucas looked at the floor. I didn't agree with this. But I also didn't do anything to stop it. Sorry, Sophia. It was a weak, cowardly apology. But at least it was an apology. I looked at each of them. Really looked. And it was as if a blindfold fell from my eyes. My father was irritated, not sorry. Irritated because I had ruined their plan by showing up. My mother was uncomfortable, but not for me. She was uncomfortable with the situation, with people looking, with the possibility of a scene. Marina was defensive, arms crossed, jaw clenched. In her mind, she was right, and I was the problematic one, as always. And Lucas, poor Lucas, just seemed to want to disappear. You know what's funny? I began, feeling hot tears in my eyes, but refusing to let them fall. Not in front of them. I spent my entire life trying to fit into this family, trying to be what you wanted me to be. But it was never enough, was it? Because the problem wasn't what I did or didn't do. The problem was that I existed, that I wasn't a copy of you. Don't be dramatic, my father began. Stop calling me dramatic. My voice echoed through the gate. Now everyone was looking. I didn't care anymore. You invalidate my feelings by calling me dramatic. You make me seem crazy every time I react to something cruel you do. Marina rolled her eyes. And it was that gesture, that simple gesture of disdain, that broke something inside me. You know what? You did me a favor. They seemed surprised. That's right. You did me a huge favor. Because finally, I can see you for what you really are. A family that values appearance over substance, conformity over individuality, and superficial peace over truth. Sophia, you're overreacting. my mother tried. Am I? You literally conspired to leave me behind on a family trip. You made me believe I was included for months. Let me plan. Let me get excited. And then, at the last minute, you decided it was easier without me. How exactly am I overreacting? No one answered. You always made me feel like the problem was me. That I was too sensitive, too complicated, too different. And I believed it. For so many years, I believed it. I forced myself to swallow my opinions, to smile when I was ignored, to accept crumbs of affection as if they were feasts. All because you're my family, and you told me family is everything. I took a deep breath, tears now falling freely. But real family doesn't do this. Real family doesn't make you feel like you have to apologize for existing. Real family doesn't abandon you because it's easier to... I looked at my father especially. You always compared me to Marina. Always made it clear I was a disappointment. That my choices were wrong. That my art was a waste of time. Do you know how many times you told me you were proud of me? 0. 0 times in 23 years. But that's okay. Because I don't need your approval anymore. I looked at my mother. And you always chose peace instead of me. Every time he criticized me, you stayed quiet. Every time Marina put me down, you changed the subject. You never defended me. Not once. Because it was easier to sacrifice me than to confront them. I looked at Marina. You were always jealous of me. I don't really know why, considering you're the perfect daughter with the perfect life. But you always needed to remind me that I was less than you. Less successful. Less organized. Less accepted. Did that make you feel better about yourself? Marina opened her mouth to respond, but I raised my hand. No. I don't want to hear it. I've heard enough. You made it very clear what you think of me. And now I'm going to make it very clear what I think of you. The boarding announcement started playing over the speakers. Attention passengers on flight 347 to Paris. We are now beginning boarding for first class and business class passengers. I looked at the boarding counter, then at them. You know what's ironic? I came here convinced there had to be some mistake, that you wouldn't do this to me on purpose. Because I still believe that deep down, very deep down, you loved me. But you know what I realize now? You don't love me. Maybe you never did. You love the idea of a perfect family. And I don't fit that idea. Sophia! Stop this, my father said, his voice with an edge of warning. You're making a scene. Good. I hope it's a memorable scene. Something you'll remember every time you post happy photos from this trip. Every time you pretend to be a perfect family. I grab my suitcase. Enjoy Paris. Enjoy Rome. Enjoy every minute of this trip you planned so carefully without me. Because when you come back, don't expect me to be here waiting. Don't expect any more Sunday dinners. Don't expect any more Christmases. Don't expect anything more from me. You're not serious, Marina said, but her voice had a tone of uncertainty. I'm absolutely serious. You want an easier life without me? Congratulations. You got it. I started to walk away, but stopped and turned one more time. You know, part of me still wants to go on this trip. Part of me wants to pretend this never happened, swallow the humiliation, and get on that plane with you. Because that's what I've always done. Swallow, forgive, forget. But not this time. Because if I get on that plane, I'll be telling you that this is acceptable. That you can treat me like this, and there will be no consequences. And I respect myself too much to do that. So you're giving up on family? My father asked, and there was challenge in his voice. No, Dad. You gave up on me. The moment you decided it was easier to leave me behind. I'm just respecting that decision. And with that, I turned and started walking. Sophia, come back here. I heard my father shout. I didn't go back. Sophia, don't be ridiculous. Marina shouted. I kept walking. Please, dear, let's talk. My mother tried. My steps didn't falter. Lucas didn't shout anything. But when I looked back one last time, I saw him standing there, tears streaming down his face. Walking away from that gate was the hardest thing I've ever done. Each step felt wrong. Each meter increased the voice in my head screaming, Go back! Go back! You're making a mistake. They're your family, you can't do this. But I kept walking. I passed the duty-free without seeing anything. I passed restaurants, cafes, stores. Everything was a blur of colors and sounds that didn't make sense. I arrived at the airline counter on the ground floor. The same attendant from before was there. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Miss Santos, did you miss the flight?" "No. I need to cancel my ticket." She blinked several times. "Cancel? But the flight boards in 15 minutes. "I know, but I'm not going anymore. I want to cancel." She looked at me for a long moment, as if she could see the whole story on my face. And maybe she could. "Let me see what I can do." She typed on the computer. "It's an international ticket, so there are cancellation fees. You understand that?" "I understand. I don't care." She continued typing. "I can offer a credit for future use, minus the cancellation fee, or a partial refund. Whatever. Whichever is fastest." More typing. More clicks. And then she handed me a paper. "It's done. Your ticket has been canceled. You'll receive an email with the credit details." "Thank you." I turned to leave, but she spoke again. "Miss Santos." Her voice was soft. "I don't know what happened up there, but I hope you're okay." For the first time since arriving at the airport, someone showed genuine concern for me. And it was a complete stranger. "I will be," I said, and in that moment I believed it. I left the airport mid-morning. Miami was sunny and warm, as always. Blue sky, palm trees swaying in the breeze. A beautiful day. Ironic. I called an Uber. While waiting, I held my phone in my hands. No messages. No calls. They were probably boarding now. Going to Paris without me. As they planned. The ride back to my apartment took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of silence in the back seat. Looking out the window, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts. What did I do? Did I overreact? Should I have gone anyway? But underneath those questions, there was something else. Something I didn't want to admit yet, but that was growing. Relief. A deep, visceral relief. As if a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I got home and entered my small apartment. The suitcase was still there, ready for a trip that wouldn't happen. I looked at it and started laughing. A hysterical laugh that quickly turned into sobs. I sat on the living room floor and cried. I cried for hours. I cried for the family I always wanted but never had. I cried for the child inside me who still hoped to be loved by them. I cried for the wasted time trying to be someone I wasn't. But when the tears finally stopped, I felt something different. Not happiness. Not yet. But clarity. As if the crying had washed away a fog that had covered my eyes for years. For the first time, I saw my relationship with my family for what it really was. Toxic. One-sided. I was always giving, always trying, always striving. And them, they took what I offered and gave me crumbs in return. And I accepted those crumbs as if they were gold because I didn't think I deserved more. But I deserved. I always deserved. The following days were strange. I had 3 weeks off that I had taken for the trip. Suddenly, I had all this free time and no plans. My phone stayed silent. No messages from my family. Part of me expected what? An apology. A plea for me to join them. An admission that they were wrong. None of that came. But other things did. On the 3rd day, my best friend Julia showed up with ice cream and wine. I had told her what happened by text. She just showed up. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I don't know. I don't think so. But I think I will be." We spent the night talking. She listened to me. Really listened. She didn't try to minimize it. She didn't say, "But they're your family." She just said, "That was horrible, and you didn't deserve it." What a difference it makes to be truly heard. In the 2nd week, I used the money I had saved for the trip differently. I rented a small art studio. A space just for me where I could paint without interruptions, without judgments. The first canvas I painted was chaotic. Dark colors, violent brushstrokes. It was pure anger. And it was liberating. The second was softer. Still sad, but it had something hopeful in it. The third. I started the third on the day my family was supposed to return from the trip. I woke up that day with a knot in my stomach. Will they get in touch? Will they pretend nothing happened? My father called in the afternoon. I let it go to voicemail. I listened to the message. "Sophia, we're back. We need to talk about your behavior at the airport. That was unacceptable and embarrassing. When you're ready to apologize and have an adult conversation, call me." I deleted the message. My mother sent a text. "Dear, the trip was wonderful, but we missed you." Let's schedule a dinner so we can talk. I didn't respond. Marina posted on Instagram. Best family trip ever. So many incredible memories. With photos of them smiling in front of tourist spots. I unfollowed her. Lucas was the only one who sent something different. Soph, I know I screwed everything up. I know I should have done something. I'm ashamed. When you want to talk, if you want to, I'm here. I saved his message. Maybe one day I'd respond. That happened 3 years ago. 3 years that completely changed my life. I won't lie and say it was easy. The first months were painful. There were moments when I wanted to call, apologize, go back to the comfortable family dynamic, even though it was toxic. Because familiar is comfortable, even when it hurts. But I didn't go back. I started therapy. I discovered terms like family scapegoat and emotional abuse and gaslighting. I discovered that what I experienced had a name. That other people experienced this too. That I wasn't crazy. My art business grew. Without the constant voice in my head saying I wasn't good enough, I flourished. I got some important clients. I exhibited in 2 galleries. I even sold some pieces. But more important than professional success was personal success. I learned to like myself, to respect myself, to establish boundaries. I made new friends. I created a chosen family. People who see me, value me, love me as I am. And Lucas, he showed up at my apartment 6 months later. With pizza and beer and a real apology. We said many painful truths that night. He admitted he always knew I was treated differently, but it was easier to ignore than to confront. And he was genuinely sorry. I didn't forgive immediately. Forgiveness is a process. But we reopened communication. Slowly. With boundaries. Today we have a better relationship than we ever had. Because it's honest. As for the rest of the family, silence. A silence that initially hurt but now brings me peace. A few months ago, my mother tried one more time. She showed up at my art studio. I was painting. Sophia, this has gone on long enough. You need to stop this tantrum. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel hurt. I felt pity. Mom, this isn't a tantrum. It's a choice. I choose to surround myself with people who treat me with respect. And you made it clear at that airport that I don't deserve respect from you. We were trying to avoid conflict. And in the process you created a much bigger conflict. One that can't be fixed with a dinner and a superficial conversation. So what? You're never going to talk to your family again. I talked to my family. I talked to Lucas. I talked to friends who became siblings. To mentors who became parental figures. To people who choose me every day. That's my family now. She was silent for a moment. Then she said something that surprised me. You've changed. You're more hard. No, Mom. I'm not harder. I'm stronger. There's a difference. She left. She hasn't tried again since then. If you're listening to the story and it resonates with you, if you feel invisible in your own family, if you constantly question your own worth because the people who should love you make you feel inadequate, I want you to know something. You're not wrong. You're not dramatic. You're not too sensitive. You're not difficult. You're just surrounded by the wrong people. And family isn't about blood. It's about who stays, who chooses you, who makes you feel at home in your own skin. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who make you feel small, even when those people share your DNA. If my story touched you, if you went through or are going through something similar, leave your comment. Share your story. You're not alone, and your story matters. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about family relationships, personal growth, and emotional healing. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos where I share my journey of reconstruction. And remember, that airport wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of choosing myself, of loving myself, of building the life I always deserve to have. And you deserve that life too. See you in the next video. End.